Good morning, room 5. So this is probably Thursday for you guys, and we're on that unit 6, the last unit of first grade, which is amazing. And the story that we're actually supposed to be reading today is actually one that you've probably read before. Your kindergarten teacher might have read it to you. I know that we have it on our bookshelf in our house. It was one of Cammie and Teddy's favorites when they were little. It's Click, Clack, Moo, Cows That Type. And it's a basic story that you might have heard before. If not, we're going to read it today. And the point of us reading it today is to enjoy it, but also we're trying to pull out the details from the story. So when you go into Google Classroom, you're going to see that for your comprehension work today, it's just basic questions. And it's questions that I've given you the exact page number that you can go back to on Wonders Online to answer the question. And so I'm going to work with you around it a little bit. But as you get older, something that good readers really can do is they can answer questions about the story and they can go back and find the answer in the book. And this is something that you even have to do when you're in college and when you're in high school. And it's sort of really understanding the text and the storyline. And it's a skill that we have to practice and we have to get better at. So if we were doing it in the classroom, we'd be doing it together, which is always more fun. So I'm going to help you through it today. I know a lot of you have already gone onto Wonders Online and read this yourself, but now you get to enjoy it with me. So it's Click, Clack, Moo, Cows That Type. I love this story. Farmer Brown has a problem. His cows like to type. All day long he hears click, clack, moo, click, clack, moo, clickety, clack, moo. At first, he couldn't believe his ears. Cows that type? Impossible. Click, clack, moo, click, clack, moo, clickety, clack, moo. So let me go on real quick to my computer, which is right here, because I'm going to see if I can help you with these questions. I'm going to see what they are so I can tell you. Let's see. Comprehension Thursday. That's what it's called, right? So the first question on Google Classroom says, what was Farmer Brown's problem? And it says on page 272, we should find this answer. Well, this is page 272. And it says right here, Farmer Brown has a problem. His cows like to type. So that is your answer right there. And you can use those words right from the story. And we call this the text. That means the writing. So you can find that exact answer. And that's how you know that you've got it right. Then he couldn't believe his eyes. Dear Farmer Brown, the barn is very cold at night. We'd like some electric blankets. Sincerely, the cows. There's a note typed, and they want electric blankets. And your second question says, what did the cows want on page 275? Well, they want electric blankets. An electric blanket is a blanket that you actually plug in, and it gets really, really warm. It was bad enough the cows had found the old typewriter in the barn. Now they wanted electric blankets? No way, said Farmer Brown. No electric blankets. So the cows went on strike. They left a note on the barn door. Sorry, we're closed. No milk today. So they went on strike. And we read about a real life strike back in January. We read about Rosa Parks and the big bus boycott. The big bus boycott was when they stopped riding buses, and it was to prove a point. And so that is called a boycott or a strike. And so the cows are doing that same thing. They're saying, fine, we're not going to give you any milk until we get what you want. Just like in the southern states, the people all worked together and said, we're not going to ride your buses, so you're not going to get any money until you agree to make the laws fair. No milk today, cried Farmer Brown. In the background, he heard the cows busy at work. Click, clack, moo. Click, clack, moo. Clickety, clack, moo. The next day, he got another note. Dear Farmer Brown, the hens are cold too. They'd like electric blankets. Sincerely, the cows. So now you have the hens want electric blankets also. The cows were growing impatient with the farmer. They left a new note on the barn door. Closed. No milk, no eggs. No eggs, cried Farmer Brown. In the background, he heard them. Click, clack, moo. Click, clack, moo. Clickety, clack, moo. So now the hens have joined the strike too. So it's not only no milk, now it's no eggs as well. So they're going on strike. They're not going to give the farmer what he wants until they get what they want. Cows that type? Hens on strike? Who ever heard of such a thing? How can I run a farm with no milk and no eggs? Farmer Brown was furious. These cows are funny. Farmer Brown got out his own typewriter. Dear cows and hens, there will be no electric blankets. You are cows and hens. I demand milk and eggs. Sincerely, Farmer Brown. Duck was a neutral party, so he brought the ultimatum to the cows. So it says that he's demanding the milk and eggs. That means he's saying, you have to give them to me. What else? Or else. And he has Duck bring the piece of paper to them because Duck is the neutral party. So I believe neutral means he's on both sides. So I believe, yes, one of your questions is who delivered the note to the animals from Farmer Brown? And that's on page 285. There it is. And there's good old Duck delivering it. The cows held an emergency meeting. All the animals gathered around the barn to snoop, but none of them could understand moo. All night long, Farmer Brown waited for an answer. Duck knocked on the door early the next morning. He handed Farmer Brown a note. Dear Farmer Brown, we will exchange our typewriter for electric blankets. Leave them outside the barn door and we will send Duck over with the typewriter. Sincerely, the cows. So now they've offered an exchange. That means if Farmer Brown leaves the electric blankets for them, they will then exchange the typewriter. So, or trade. Exchange is another name for trade. So one of your questions says, what did the cows offer to trade the farmer for the electric blankets? They offered to trade their typewriter. In the book, they use the word exchange, but you know that exchange and trade mean the same thing. Farmer Brown decided this was a good deal. He left the blankets next to the barn door and waited for Duck to come with the typewriter. So you can see they all have their blankets plugged in. So because they did their strike or their boycott, they won. They got what they wanted. The next morning, he got a note. Dear Farmer Brown, the pond is quite boring. We'd like a diving board. Sincerely, the Ducks. Click, clack, quack. Click, clack, quack. Clickety, clack, quack. Guess who has the typewriter now? So your last question says, what did the ducks ask Farmer Brown for at the end of the story? On page 292, and it's right there, and they asked for a diving board. And that's the end. And I know there's lots more of these books that were written after this one. And these cows are hilarious. If you have a chance, just like we drew Fly Guy and we drew Horton, you could try to draw one of these cows because they're pretty funny. And the other thing that I wanted to pay attention to is, or you to pay attention to, when you're doing your writing, and I would like for you to be writing it on paper, you should be spelling these words right because we're getting them right out of the text. So that's something that good readers and writers do, is they don't guess. Instead, they look back at their text. And if we were in the classroom, I would say, keep your book out. And then we'd have our paper right next to it. At home, it's kind of crazy because you've got a computer up or you've got the book on the computer. So of course you might need to ask for a little bit of help. But this is what we would be doing. And that really helps us get better at understanding stories and reading stories so that we can start reading harder and longer stories in second grade. If you want to do a book report on this book this week, you can. It would be a great idea to do a book review or a book report on it. Like I said, if you want to try to draw the farm animals, they're hilarious in this story. Those cows are really funny. So have a good time with it. But I hope you enjoyed it. It's a fun story, and I wish we were doing it together, but at least we can kind of do it this way. I love you, and I miss you, and there's no place like home.